Welcome to a new video. I hope you had an amazing day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories, shall we? The first story is called, You Do the Lord's Work. I used to work in a large do-it-yourself store and had a manager, let's call her Janet. She was running her department like a tyrant. I was her least favorite employee and she made this clear from day one. One day, in an annual performance meeting, she expressed how disappointed she was in me and that I should go the extra mile for customers and that they're always right. This went on my personal file. This store had lots of younger staff and would regularly get unreasonable requests from customers, especially on timber cutting. This is when I had the genius idea to do every request a customer gave to see how far I could push it. A couple of weeks later, an elderly couple came in wanting a fireplace. I showed them the display model which was high up on a wall and the gentleman wanted to see the boxed wood color to see if it would match his furniture. He says that the display is perfect, but that this one is wrong. I informed him it's because the wood was coated in a special varnish so it looks fresh on display. He asks if he can have that one up there. I say, of course you can. It will be ready by 8 tonight. I just have to take it apart and replace it with a boxed one. 3 hours later, Janet walks in and I'm building the full fireplace in the middle of the store. She asked, why the heck have you taken that down? It was fitted a week ago. The customer wants this one and they are always right. So I've gone the extra mile. She storms off and I spend a full shift replacing it, taking my time. The customer was so happy I did it that they gave me £20 in a thank you card. The following Friday, a local gospel choir came in 30 minutes before closing. Hello child, could you do this timber order? It was almost a full pallet of timber sheets to be cut into lots of pieces. I explained it would take me a couple of hours and that we would close in 30 minutes. We don't mind waiting and you will be doing the Lord's work. Jesus was a carpenter child. Who am I to deny the Lord's work, even as an atheist? I asked the store manager if I can do it, as it's for a local church and they're doing a new stage for Sunday. He said, yes. Please stay late and Janet can stay late too to lock up after you and I'll lock the rest of the store. Just get them to pay before we close. Janet was mad as she had planned to go out to a party. But the choir was so happy, they were singing gospel songs with my name put in them for 3 hours. When I was done, I loaded their van and they hugged me. A very nice review was later posted online and my store manager was happy. But not Janet. She tried to give me a written warning for making her late and I refused to sign it and I said the customer was right, so I was right. The store manager was informed of my refusal to sign and he went mental at Janet for giving me a warning. He said she was undermining his authority and he told me to do it and she was giving me petty warnings for nothing. My previous warnings by Janet were removed. And she got a serious talking to and a warning. I still did the occasional unreasonable request for customers, if it would take some time or was for a good cause, like building a full rabbit hutch out of scrap wood for a single dad and his little girl and charging £1 for it, as we decided the price for off-cut wood. Most importantly, Janet learned to be careful what she pulled staff upon and left me alone. The next story is called, You Want Documentation? This was 2 years ago. Out of college, I began running a veterinary clinic. The owner worked at the sister clinic, so we never saw much of him. My staff, our veterinarian, and I worked 12-hour days 5 or 6 days a week. The owner made sure we were understaffed to save money, and as you can imagine, the turnover was quite high. This led to me working 12 to 15 hours 6 days a week most weeks. I was never one to take a day off unless I truly needed it and would ensure that the clinic was staffed so that nothing bad could happen. I won't get into details here, but things seemed to fall apart when I wasn't there. Something crazy always went down and so I felt like I always needed to be there to help. Then comes 2017. I have had 5 major knee surgeries and was having very taxing issues due to the nature of work. So I had been using my days off to see my knee surgeon. Long days bending and restraining animals didn't help. Then I began having reproductive issues. Needed a ton of testing and appointments. I always planned to go to my appointments during my lunch hour or my day off. Then I had to go to the emergency room for something critical on a Sunday. They had to check me through and I had to stay overnight. So I call up my boss and say, I am in the hospital. I can't come in tomorrow. He flat out said no. He said he needed thorough documentation. I was beside myself at this point and had my significant other contact my co-workers to give them a heads up. When I get back to work on Tuesday, I just had it with this boss. In hindsight, I shouldn't have sent my personal records to my employer. But I faxed a good 40 pages of my reports to his house. You want documentation? I'll give you some documentation. I gave my notice. Frustrated that I had put my all and everything into this clinic. I had great relationships with employees and clients. The entire staff aside from the receptionist, one technician, and the veterinary quit when I told them I was leaving. I certainly didn't suggest they quit, but they were done with our douchebag boss, and I had seen them cry too many times as well. To this day, we are all super close. And we still all hate the jerk of a boss we had. The third story is called, You Don't Want Me to Walk 20 Meters? I work in inbound sales for a pretty big company. We had a store for one of our bigger accounts come through. They wanted to get on as soon as possible, and time was the essence for them. So I took the request, called them and understood what they needed and how to help. Was very doable, but it needed to be done before they closed today, and it was about lunchtime by this point. So there was still a good amount of time left. All I needed to do from here was walk no less than 20 meters to the account manager's desk and confirm a couple of things. It would have taken 2 minutes. My manager and I had a meeting, so I internally chatted with him and let him know that I needed 5 minutes more to confirm a couple of things. He comes walking over to my desk and just says, "Mate, stay there for now." Then he sends me an email 10 minutes later, saying how I need to be at my desk more, need to stop walking around, etc. I tried to explain the situation and that it was urgent. However, I had to send the account manager an email and wait patiently, and I'll be getting a serious talking to if I do go over and talk to him, keeping in mind my account needed to be closed by close of business that day. So I sent the email to the account manager and waited for a reply. 10 minutes later, I see the account manager start packing up his desk. It was looking like he was heading home for the weekend. I wanted to get up and quickly confirm what I needed with him. But my manager had specifically asked me to stay seated and not move, so that's what I did. 5 rolls around and there was still no reply. So I send the customer an email, apologizing and letting him know that we will be in contact on Monday. Monday rolls around and I find out that the account manager is out until Wednesday. No big deal, so I sent my manager an email asking G to confirm a couple of details. His reply was, "Please wait for the account manager to return on Wednesday." Even though he would have no issues confirming the information I needed. So once again, I sat there and did my other work. Wednesday rolls around and the account manager comes up to me and looks absolutely gutted. Apparently, he just got off an hour call with the head office of the company we are dealing with and was disgusted with how long it took for us to get back to them, and how because they had to wait they lost money, customers, etc., and from here on out, they won't be partnering with us anymore. He asked why, and I simply showed him the emails from my manager, stating that I wasn't allowed to come and speak to him and to wait till Wednesday to confirm everything I needed to. The office rumor now is that we will be getting a new manager soon. The last story is called, I Will Let You Know When I Am Ready. A few years ago, I worked as a bartender in a college town. For the most part, the work was fun and easy, except for the constant standing. I made good tips because I was always pleasant and engaging. Now, our establishment had a hard line on IDs, because we often saw a lot of underage kids. So the rule was, no valid ID, no drinking. We could not accept an expired ID or a student ID or a concealed carry permit or anything similar. We were known as the most hard-line place in town for checking IDs. One night, a few minutes before midnight, a group of 5 women came in, all in their late 20s or early 30s. These women came to the bar, sat down, and asked for a drink menu. I handed them over and asked each of them for their ID. No problem so far. 4 of them handed over their IDs, and I put wristbands on them so that management would know that I'd already carded them. One, however, did not show me her ID. Instead, she said, "I don't want a drink yet. I'll let you know when I'm ready." She said it in the most condescending voice possible. The 5 ordered food from the kitchen, and I took care of the drink orders for the 4 who had been carded. The woman who didn't show me her ID complained about the slow service from the kitchen, the quality of the food, and generally ran the place down to her friends and made an incredible mess on the bar while she was eating. When she finished eating, she snapped her fingers at me to get my attention and said, "I'll have a drink now." I asked, again politely, for her ID. With a huff, she pulled it from her purse and flung it across the bar at me. I picked it up from where it had landed atop the beer cooler and looked at it. Birth date, photo. And, wait. I looked at the clock. It was 9 minutes past midnight. I handed the ID back to her and shook my head. I'm sorry, I said. Your ID expired yesterday. I can't serve you. She was livid and demanded a manager. When he showed up, he looked at her expired ID, looked at me and told the woman, I'm sorry, but Bob's in charge of the bar tonight. Your ID is expired. We can't serve you. I still grin, thinking about that night. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.